Undo with a smile and laugh. DAO, help, do, serve. UnDaoDu. Also, UnDaoDu means Bitcoin's going to unravel fiat. DAO, it's going to do it with DAOs or a Proto-DAO called a DAE, which is going to be managed by the DO, which is a distributive unconsciousness or AI, UnDaoDu. So I want to talk to you about what I call the Bitcoin standard. I showed the first diagram from 2010 called the Open Innovation Framework that actually shows the sequestering of Bitcoin as it goes around the cycle. It's the image that is on this video. So that image is from 2010, and I want you to think about that as thousands, millions of these proto DAOs that evolved into a smart DAO governed by AI sequestering Bitcoin. There's only about 4 million Bitcoin out there, people. There's not a lot. And a lot of it is actually been lost in accounts. So how do we usher in the Bitcoin standard? This framework is going to be applied to every blockchain. Every single one of these dots represents a blockchain, a programmable blockchain that came out of UnDaoDu's head when he shared the idea with the founders of Bitcoin magazine that evolved into what he called back in the time an open decentralized corporation that Vitalik would rename as a DAO. Now, I've done a talk on the why of the DAO, right? The why of the DAO is to remove a piece of code called CAGR and replace it with a piece of code called CABR, which is collective autonomous benefit rate. It measures the intangible value that drives the ROI of found-ups and in how the found-up impacts the planet, the living systems, and sharing with others. And AI does the calculation. You can go to eduit.papers.org, or sorry, papers.eduit.org. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Papers.eduit.org. And you can read my work. I have it all outlined. And GPT-4 even created the equations for CABR. So we have to replace this broken piece of code in capitalism that drives capitalism. And the reason for a programmable blockchain is for us to be able to insert a new code that drives ROI. That was it. The problem was when I shared the work with the founders of Bitcoin magazine that would go on to launch Ethereum, I didn't know what that code would be because I didn't have GPT-4. So now that we have GPT-4, we can go back and now fix the system. And specifically what I want to talk to you about is what I call driving the Bitcoin standard, which is built on these proto-DAOs called DAEs. They're Decentralized Autonomous Entities. That's a found-up. When a found-up launches, it becomes this DAE. It has very little management in it, okay? It doesn't matter about the management at this stage. It's about solving a problem and a localized problem, to be specific. And in doing so, it evolves into a smart DAO. Now, there's an AI component to this, which is our first found up that we're launching. I call our proto found up called Eduit, which is eduit.org. It is in the AI teaching tablet. But what I want to talk about here today is actually specifically how DAEs sequester Bitcoin. Now, any blockchain could ultimately launch this for their blockchain as a way to encourage people to participate on their blockchain. And here's how it works. Imagine that you run the DAEs protocol on your blockchain, your ecosystem, right? And what it does is when you launch a DAE, which is a DAO without any governments, right? It evolves into a DAO at a specific point, and that point is defined by the members of the DAE. They define when it's a DAO, and these are things that can be, programmed into the smart contract as it evolves. Well, all it does is anything passing through the DAE, think of it attached to like a stripe or something similar, gets converted into Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is held and sequestered by the DAE. not by the members of the DAE, but by the DAE itself. And in doing so, it releases a decaying native token. And decaying is very important, right? Which means is when you take the token outside of the wallet that is tied to this DAE, because the DAE will have its own wallet, it takes a significant hit. So if you want to send it to another exchange or decentralized exchange to sell it, you're going to take a 50, 60, 70% hit, because we want to encourage people not to do that, right? They can, right? But we want to encourage people not to. And the other reason is let's say you start an account on it and you do nothing with it, and it has these DAEs that generate. We want these DAEs to go back into the system. One of the big failings of Bitcoin is there's a lot of dead Bitcoin out there in accounts that have been not moved. One of the most famous one is Satoshi Nakamoto's account, which has like 2 million Bitcoin in it, I believe, and it's never moved. It's just been sitting there. And there's been a lot of thinking. Now in our system, that's fine. That Bitcoin would be linked to a DAE, so as the value of that account increases, the issuance of these tokens, right? These what I call a universal basic dividend, a UBD, happens periodically, right? It can happen weekly, it can happen daily, and it's issuing out these dividends, these UBDs, to the account holder. And the cool thing is, if the account holder is inactive or anything else, those UBDs end up going back to the system to be issued out again, and so on and so on and so on. So what you're doing is you're redistributing Bitcoin to the masses, which was the goal of Satoshi Nakamoto. He envisioned Bitcoin being there for everyone, not for the few who were able to get in first and get it and buy it and own it, but actually for everyone. And it works very simple. Any fiat or crypto passing through the DAE gets converted into Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is sequestered, and a native token is released and shared with the stakeholders. And it's also very important to have it set where it's sequestered so that it can't be stolen. In the smart contract, we want it written that, hey, this Bitcoin is not moving. And if someone does want to move it, then it has to get the approval of every member, right? So if someone tries to move it, then it sends a notification to every address saying, hey, Bitcoin wants to be moved. Are you okay with that? And you say yes or no. And everyone in the system has to vote yes for that Bitcoin to move. Maybe that's how we do it, right? So one person voting no, which I would always be that person, no, not moving that Bitcoin, right? No matter what, all that Bitcoin will always be there. Anyway, so the Bitcoin standard comes about because of this fundamental fact. As these DAEs sequester Bitcoin, it creates scarcity. As scarcity happens, the price of Bitcoin goes up. There's only about 4 million Bitcoin available. So that becomes the mechanism for driving the value of the UBD that is distributed out to the stakeholders. And that becomes in a form of a payment system, right? And the cool thing is, for example, if you're running a farm and it's set up as a DAE, then when let's say you're producing rice, every time someone buys rice, you say, hey, would you like to get the coupon? Right? They don't need to understand how the system works. So yeah, sure, okay, here, scan this QR code, boom, they get their wallet. Oh, you can use these tokens to, these coupon, right, to purchase your rice at a cheaper rate. So when they come in, just as you do with these point cards and everything else, which is already built into society, you're spending that. That's what you have, right? And you get a notification saying, hey, you haven't spent your tokens, they're about to lose value, right? Or they're about to decay. A mechanism set up in the system, and that decay will be managed by AI. The AI is really important because the AI ultimately becomes the digital twin of you that manages your You're in a way, your AI, it becomes your AI proxy, your AI shield, your AI, information filter. And it isn't the AI filtering, it's actually you filtering, because the AI is you. It is your digital twin. And it's really important. So every AI out there, you don't have to worry about alignment, because every AI is representing an individual human, right? And it's negotiating deals, it's doing all these different things. And that's what Eduit, if you go to eduit.org, the whole AI teaching tablet, there it is on my back. There is the AI teaching tablet. That's 0202 AGI, staring out into the world emotionlessly, right? And there I am. And here's the foundation of Bitcoin. Here, the blockchain, the DAOs, right? That I'm just talking about right now with the Bitcoin standard. So it is unstoppable, as it says on the back of my t-shirt. Unstoppable. You cannot stop Bitcoin from becoming the Bitcoin standard, as I just outlined to you. What I'm hoping is that there is some, Gavin Woods out there, Vitalik Buterin out there, who sees value in this idea that I'm communicating right now, and you'll code it out, because I'm not a coder. I'm an architect. Just as I architected the smart blockchain, just as I architected the DAO, right? I didn't engineer it. Someone else did. You know who that is. And so does Michal Alisi, UnDaoDu.